heathen to me. And Colton in Connecticut, you're talking to Eric and Jamie.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey.
What would you like to talk about?
Jump right in. So I believe that there is a good reason I believe that there is an afterlife even without God.
How?
A secular afterlife kind of thing.
Like what?
And it basically comes to two premises, which I don't know if they're sound or unsound. I don't have evidence either way. So it's kind of like, but I believe these two, and therefore I think it's valid. So I'm just going to give a brief overview.
As a quick preamble, can you just give us a little bit of what you mean by a secular afterlife? I mean, I'm assuming you don't mean like magical zombies, but...
No, it's pretty much, so once, we die or whatever, our consciousness will pop up again, kind of a thing, but I don't know what form that would take.
Just really quickly, when you say it will pop up again, do you mean on Earth physically, or do you mean like in another realm or in a different place in our universe?
Again, it's more... so I'd say somewhere in the cosmos, but we might call that place Earth. We might call it not Earth.
Can we?
I don't know. What
Can we get back to?
Yeah. Okay.
So
I just wanted to clarify that. Let's. Oh, did you want to?
Yeah,
ask question?
I did. Okay. Colton, you said consciousness, right? The way I understand consciousness is it's my brain state that is completely dependent on the physical makeup of my brain, right? With a different brain, I would not be achieving the same brain state. With a damaged part of my brain, I would not be able to interact or even have the same personality. So when I consider consciousness, it is a very, very specific thing about my brain. And when I die, it is no longer in that brain state. And even then, that consciousness is gone. It's what's the term that I'm thinking of? An emergent property of having a brain.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the conclusion. It's just one of those cool things that happens when you have a brain like ours.
I agree with all of that.
So why? Well, actually, no, give us the argument. Maybe that'll explain it. Go ahead.
Okay. So the basic argument is like our universe exists. So there had to been, so in the cosmos, if the cosmos is in fact infinite and universes like ours, but not exactly like ours, can continue to pop up and then heat death infinitely, which is something I believe, but I don't have proof that that's true.
Okay. Then, if that's the case, then I can absolutely see your argument. I just don't see anything pointing to that being the case. Well, so think about the infinite monkey thought experiment.
So, I mean...
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you live in an infinite set of universes, then this world could have popped into existence with the thoughts in our heads currently, and then we could live in a 5-minute old universe and just not know it. I mean, that's a cool thought, but what makes you think that the universe is infinite? I mean, you're coming up with conclusions that I don't think we have anything for.
As just a very, very quick aside, do you mean that in infinite universes, there will always be a version of the universe that includes a human being that we might identify as a different version of me?
Not exactly, but maybe.
So you mean like the consciousness of Jamie in universe C30 or whatever, when I die, would then move to a different place?
Yeah, that will be explained in the next premise because it's how do we travel through time kind of a thing. Like every moment that passes, how do you get to the next moment? And
I'll say right now, Colton and Jamie, I'll entertain this, but I'm hung up on the first premise. Yeah. And because of that, I'm not able to come to a conclusion about it being true because I don't feel like the first premise is fleshed out or justified sufficiently.
I'm also at the point where I don't know how the first premise connects to the second. So, can you finish the second?
Yeah, finish
premise?
it. But I'm probably going to sit out this one because I'm done. I'm done after that first premise. I don't think it's justified.
Okay. Well, so Colton, can you finish the second premise?
Okay. So the second premise is that how like, how do we move from like one moment to the next? I'm defining a moment as the time it takes the speed of light to travel one Planck length kind of a thing. So I think of those as like frames kind of a thing.
Okay, so
and the way we travel from one.
You mean very small moments in time? I'm okay with that working definition for this conversation.
Yes. So basically, I think of the way we get from moment to moment is it's not our atoms physically travel to the next moment. It's more like in like a fourth dimensional view of it, our next moment has already been made with our brains in that moment and our brains having the thoughts and memories of all the moments happening before.
Okay, so I almost agree with you 100%. The first part that you said, where it's you don't believe that it is our atoms physically moving from one moment to moment. You believe it's a fourth dimensional movement. I agree. I think it's atoms. I don't know if the word moving is necessarily correct, but our atoms temporally, we'll say, moving from one moment to the next. The part where I have to, I don't even know if it's technically take issue, but ask a follow-up question is when you say the next moment has already been created, because has already are words that describe events within time. And I don't think that tomorrow has already happened as far as I can define it.
So the way I think about that is like time, charge, parity, symmetry kind of thing is once you know where everything is a deterministic universe kind of a thing. So whether we're going backwards in time
double
or
out of
in
this.
time. Sorry.
No, I'm so sorry. I'm just jumping it like
one call, all for me.
Yeah, all Jamie. I'm also not a determinist.
Let's talk about parliamentary procedure.
Oh,
No,
please.
okay.
You guys have fun.
So I will admit I'm less familiar with the specific term time charge symmetry. I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely gonna Google it in a bit, but so sorry. Is premise 2 sort of complete? Because it seems like you're saying that our atoms move through a fourth dimension, and that is their movement through time.
So the basic thing is, I don't think of it as movement at all. It's like different frames in the same movie kind of a thing.
Yeah, I understand what you mean. But so the way that my understanding as a non-cosmologist, non-PhD holder, non-professional in this field is that could be described as movement through a fourth dimension. Right, so 3 dimensions of space, 1 of time, 4-dimensional space-time.
Mm-hmm. But the point about it not being actual movement, but just being like frames is important, because if you cut up the frames of a film and you scatter them around and then you reorganize them so they're in the wrong order, the characters in that film still have the memories of all the frames that came before them, whether or not they're physically next to that previous frame.
What?
And that's how you get from different universes in the cosmos.
So here's what I will say is what you're describing is a perspective of our 4-dimensional world from either the 5th dimension, the 6th dimension, et cetera. And while I understand the concept, I'm not actually sure where cosmologists are on how much that exists. I think there's a popular or prevailing view of 10 dimensions in space-time, or not in space-time, but 10 dimensions. But I know exactly how far in the weeds we are. I've been this far in the weeds before, and we'll get back.
I usually pull you out of it, Jamie.
Yeah, but it's the caller. So neener, trump card.
No, because I can just caller.
No,
then finish. We got all the callers.
So yeah, we're coming up on the end of the show. But so the idea here, basically, I'm following you all the way up until a thing that could travel through the 5th dimension could travel from different points in space-time. The idea that the 5th dimension in our local universe would be connected to another instance of a universe within the cosmos is one that I'm not sure that I follow, and I'm also not persuaded that something like a consciousness exists separate than my brain. And I think that's where we would conclude, or at least where I would fall as far as the argument you've presented so far.
All right, Colton, hope that helped.
Yeah. Additionally, again, there are going to be a lot more people that have spent a lot more time looking at this in the Talk Heathen Reddit/r/Talk Heathen. Please, I'd like to have this conversation because I know I'm going to end up having it again, and I'd like to have a more informed view. Is that something that I can persuade you to do?
Yes.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right, talk to you then. Bye.
Because I know I can't persuade Eric to listen to that any longer.
No, because it was baseless. I mean, you're taking a whole bunch of assumptions and assertions that don't have evidence and don't have backup, and then you're making speculation based off of them. And even if those were true, if I were to create a robot that had consciousness and then copy that robot into another robot, that doesn't mean that I moved that robot's consciousness over to another. It means I made a copy of it. So no matter what, even in that assertion, if all of those things were true, which we have no evidence of, our consciousness still isn't going to go outside of our brain. It just means that in an infinite universe, if you give all of those other things, you might wind up with a copy, but that doesn't mean your consciousness moved at all.
Yeah.
And because of that, I'm done. I'm so and not only that, but I felt so freaking uncomfortable moving forward, talking about the hypotheticals at that level, that I felt like anything that I did other than trying to be honest with that was me talking out of my ass.
Yeah. So what I wanted to do, even though his first premise begins with if the cosmos is infinite, was to get to the point where I felt the argument was weakest, which was, well, then with a fifth dimension, consciousness could move from universe to universe. The dimensions are within a universe, and consciousness what?
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah.
I mean, I don't even think you need to say the first thing. Just consciousness what? Move on.
Yeah.
It's otherwise it's just mental masturbation.
Well, it's
Saad
okay.
in Pakistan.